can clip it up for you guys and for people that can watch shorter versions of shows and then come over. I'll put this on the YouTube clip channel and then hopefully you guys come over and, you know, check out the Odysee stuff. And yes, I do have a Rumble channel. I just haven't like decked it out yet. Like I haven't designed it. I haven't loaded too many videos up there. I haven't promoted it, but I see a lot more people asking about Rumble. I think it's because they watch a lot of other shows on Rumble, so they want me on there too, so it's easier for them, which I understand. So I will start uploading to Rumble as well. But live streams, I think we're just going to roll with Odysee. Maybe do a multi-stream Rumble and Odysee. Maybe put chat back onto the screen, you know, that kind of thing. We'll see what we're going to do. You know, it's not really a rush, but it's definitely something that I think I've seen a lot of people asking. So there's interest in it, so I should be doing it. So, Jordan Peterson rallies conservatives against trannies and tyranny while somehow blaming China. And it gets worse than this. Jordan Peterson, an employee of Jew rap Ben Shapiro, is taking his anti-China thing to such an extreme that it's like a parody, and it is making more serious people who are trying to promote a war with the Chinese, like for example Tucker Carlson, look like as cartoonish as Peterson. He's been going wild on Twitter. So there's no tyranny like a self-congratulatory total tyranny CPP. That's you. He's talking about the Chinese Communist Party. He pulls up something, Australia, recruitment advert for Australian Army. The focus has shifted from protecting citizens from foreign enemies to protecting authority from its own unarmed protesting citizens. Yeah, that's every country in the world. It's been militarized. We know this. Another post was penile inversion vaginoplasty is done to children in the U.S. We know this happens. Again, this is why I said, he says prison. Just get them out of the country. We don't need these people. Anyone performing it, anybody that's getting it done to them. We should be removing parents away from children that are grooming them into this kind of shit or going off of the child's delusion and letting them go through with surgeries like this. He said, it's not a vagina, it's a hole for another man to fuck, and that's that. I agree with that. Not bad. But for some reason, he's blaming China for all of this stuff. I don't understand why he's blaming China for all of this. I would blame Jewish-controlled U.S. interests for this, Jewish-controlled U.S. corporations for this, and the Israel Global Homo agenda for this. But he went one step further, and he found a conspiracy page that, and when I say conspiracy, I'm not talking about like when we talk about conspiracies that are actually real conspiracies. He found a channel that was just uploading something, but it was something else. It wasn't actually what he thought it was. Got tricked by it, shared it, went after the Chinese for it, looked like a complete idiot. So Peterson thought a bizarre fetish film was a Chinese government policy. Jordan Peterson had given us one of the strongest social media moments yet after mistakenly claiming that a bizarre fetish film was actually made by the Chinese government. The Canadian psychologist raised eyebrows after he retweeted a post featuring a BDSM fetish video depicting male milking. It claimed that the clip was actually taken inside a Chinese communist sperm bank with the caption, "What's going on in China? 3 children policy?" And it's just like, thankfully the post has been now deleted, but before Peterson had shared it on his timeline, all of his followers to see. Peterson has also added his own caption, "Such fun and unbelievable techno nightmare, communist party hell." The post sparked a big reaction, not least from his daughter, which has also since deleted a post. Dad, you can't retweet this on my Twitter. My eyes will never recover. It was a fetish film. It was a fetish film. Sorry, my mistake. I found the video on WeChat and they said this is a China collection room for sperm bank. Turns out it's a video from the UK. So you were just literally on WeChat, which is what Elon Musk wants to turn Twitter into, and you were watching a fetish film and then decided to think it had to do with China, so you put a whole tweet out about it. Just saying, it's a little fucking weird, man. Now, he's been on a spiral for ever since, he got super addicted, and I'd been over that before. Let me see if I can find the thing. Because there was actually one with, I won't find that post, but there was like it was actually a Chinese factory, but it was for, it was like pottery molds, but if you look at it, it just looks like two big, like, tits, like, dangling down, and there's, like, a woman that has to, like, move them. It's just a funny post, but it's not, like, anything to do with this thing. Chinese milking tweet. Let's see if we can get it up. Because I know they tried to delete this thing all around. Why did he post that? Because everything's China now. They have to blame China for everything. The phrase Chinese dick sucking factory went viral. That's funny. I'm trying to find one where they have the video in it, because I know if I click on his tweet, it's deleted, so they're not going to show it to me. Okay, here we go. So just to be 100% clear, Jordan Peterson just ironically retweeted a video of BDSM male milking dungeon in UK claiming to be footage of human rights abuses in China. And obviously they are not showing the full image of it. Such fun and unbelievable communist hell. And we're going to get into his organization. Okay, so this was the image. Oh, what the fuck? Sorry, I X'd out too quick. Got rid of it. I don't even want you guys to see it. No, I do. After the internet celebrity psychologist tweeted a fetish porn clip and called it CCP hell, the phrase Chinese dick sucking factory went viral. So this was the image. And it's just like two people laying in hospital beds and obviously some contraption that constantly jerks them off so they can get semen out of them. And he thought it was an official, Chinese government program, and like had to delete all of his tweets about it. I just found that funny. For me, that's just fucking hilarious. The guy's completely lost his mind. And now they're putting him at the head of this ARC movement. So let's get into that. Scarred, what the fuck? Jordan's fetish revealed. So it said, this stays here. When I was attending University of California Department of Corrections, you're Southern Hispanic? Okay, we gotta get you out of here. No, I'm just kidding, Joe. Had the opportunity and privilege of uniting with some woods and activity of physical nature. We basically showed our advantage over an opponent. Okay. Know what I'm saying? Yes, Birdman. Jordan will do and say anything to protect BB Netanyahu. We've proven that with our videos that we've shown. I mean, the guy's had like 4 sit-down dinners with him at this point. He's working for Ben Shapiro. They all went over to Israel together. I mean, that's not even one you have to like really do like hard piece connection to. But let's talk about ARC. The new international alliance announces major conference to enhance global prosperity, challenge declinism, and revitalize our understanding of human flourishing. The Alliance for Responsible Citizens will provide an alternative to the claim that decline is inevitable. So, if you listen, and I'll play the clip, and it's set up as we're like the anti-World Economic Forum. We're the good version of it. And you'll see, it's a billionaires club, really, except for a few people, like great people, like Representative Dan Crenshaw is on the board of members here. So that's a guy that wants to use pre-crime to take away your weapons and red flag laws to take away your weapons, but good guy to have on the board because, you know, for some reason he's a veteran, so he's cool. Intellectuals like Bjorn Lomborg. Bjorn Lomborg is like one of the richest people that believes in man-made global warming. There's people from Australia Net Zero that are part of, you know, what Net Zero is, getting down to zero emissions, which is a complete fantasy that they have, which means less eating meat. It means less driving. Everything that the World Economic Forum pushes, people on the board of ARC seem to have similar ideas. But their way in the door to present it to you as a positive thing is just saying, well, we're good guys. This isn't something we're forcing you to do. The decline is not inevitable. You can just join our group. You can have the privilege and honor, and you can get an invitation to our group. World Economic, they're forcing you to do this. Now we know the World Economic Forum is evil. It's Klaus Schwab. It's Yuval Harari. It's godless. So is Jordan Peterson. He just started liking God 3 years ago just because that helped him with his grift. Now he's sucking Netanyahu's dick. So what does he really think? I mean, has he fully converted to Judaism yet? Is he part J? I don't think Jordan Peterson is, but I don't know. I mean, I couldn't know his genealogy. But believing in their religion of Judaism and, you know, believing in teachings and going off of Zionist rhetoric, you know, he has the social aspect of one. You know, socially, he is one. You know, it's a famous Joe Biden, you know, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist type thing. Now, they say in late 2023, ARC will be holding its inaugural international conference of more than 1,000 high-level leaders from politics, culture, and business and academia. So all the people we already don't trust. People from politics, you know, the corporations, the academia, which Jordan Peterson built his career railing against, all of a sudden they're all on his board of leaders, and we'll get into specifics. Now, I just want to point out something interesting, and trust me, I'm gonna have to do more of a dive on this because there's just some information I couldn't find. You know, it's only been around for a week where they've announced it, so it's going to take a while to build up. But I will give you what I have at right now. The Alliance for Responsible Citizenship Limited is what it's actually called if you look up the company. Now, what's weird about this is that I'll find the exact thing. On January of 2023, the company changed its name to this Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. From 2017 until 2023, it was something called Prosperity UK 2017 Limited, which is very odd. Very odd that it's been a company that's been around since 2017 out of the UK called Prosperity. And from what I could find out about this company is that they would take in large amounts of funding, but that money wouldn't actually go to what they were saying. And one of their biggest things that they're pushing is, well, we can end hunger here and we can help people over here. We can help homelessness. They're big on telling people how much they're going to help, but it's going to take a lot of money. But they changed their name to the ARC, with Jordan Peterson being the head of this thing, who's spearheading it, even though the board of members obviously has a big part in it. But he's the face of it. He's the one doing the videos. He's the one in all the promotional ads. Does he own it? I'm sure there's LLCs and all things involved in that. But what I could find on the UK's Shared Prosperity Fund before they changed their name to ARC, which is just an odd thing in of itself. He didn't start this. This isn't some new idea that he started. It looks like he got in on something that's been existing for about 6 years that has a history of, looks like, taking in large amounts of money, promising to put it back into the country of the UK. And then there's a big disparity in the amount of money that was taken in and the amount of money that was put back, like most quote-unquote charities or prosperities. So this is just a person that wrote Commons Debate on UK Shared Prosperity, which is now ARC. That this House notes with concern that the government is more than half a year behind its schedule to provide details of post-2020 funding through the Prosperity Fund. Supports the Joseph Roundtree's Foundation recommendation that the fund should at least match the $2.4 billion year currently allocated through the EU structural funds, and calls on the government to ensure that full details of the funds are published with urgency. So they're not publishing their numbers. A lot of money's coming in, and these people start like really digging in. Like, okay, you got 2.4 billion that year, and we're seeing we received 2.4 billion this year, but we're seeing that you received 13 billion that was supposed to be allocated. So where is the $10 billion? You know what I mean? There's a lot of that fuckery going on, and I feel the same with what this organization is going to do with all these high-level players, is embezzle a lot of money. They're going to build it up as this noble cause, anti-World Economic Forum. Jordan Peterson, even though we know what he is, 90% of right-wing people believe in this guy. They won't even look into who's on the board. They'll just trust that it's a good thing. He wouldn't harm anyone. He wouldn't be a guy to embezzle money or anything like that. When he's just a face on the front of this for much seedier actors and much more connected people than he could ever be. It's absolutely true that the money has had a massive impact on the infrastructure of the Highlands and must be replaced. This is an important debate, and I know that the minister has worked hard on the matter and been very good with the members. They need some indication of what is happening, though. We have just talked about science and technology. We agree that research and development also requires planning. Brexit has taken the government's eye off the ball, but we need some answers now. And he starts talking about Members of the Iverness, they get into all these places, has repeatedly referred to EU money. I hope he will acknowledge that it is not EU's money, but the British taxpayers' money, that he will reflect on the fact that in 2018, we paid 13.2 billion into the EU, and they returned 4.2 billion to the country. So again, you have another disparity of $10 billion. So just to give you a couple examples of what it was weird to find out that ARC was actually this prosperity company out of the UK that was embezzling money. But then you get into some of the members, and I'll get into this right now. And I'm gonna. Someone put up a video, and they just. It's a lot more aesthetically pleasing to show. They put every single member on one page, and I can show you it like this. Like, I'll go to the organizing committee, and I can just scroll through everybody and show you. But I'm gonna pull up a video. I'm not using the video, even though I don't like the person that made the video, but specifically on this topic, I think she did a good job. Her name's Amazing Polly. She usually is in that Trump Q kind of space, so I don't listen to her. But on this specific issue, I think she did a very good job on the video. So you have Bjorn Lomberg, Dan Crenshaw. Now this is a big one. Philippa Stroud is a member of the House of Lords, and we'll get into her connections. Riva Melisa Tez is someone that backs like a crypto AI smart city program. Robert Batterham here. He's a professor of engineering at University of Melbourne. He chairs the Net Zero Australia project, which means less meat, less driving, get everything down to zero. You'll own nothing and you'll like it. Same thing as the World Economic Forum, who they claim to be going against. So a lot of connections to be made here. Someone said the PM of Ireland is Indian. Yeah, is it the Prime Minister of the UK Indian as well? Patel, or whatever the fuck his name is. I still don't know about that video of him where he had the green folder when he was walking, and he like passes something real quick and it turns into a red folder. I don't know what the fuck that was about. Now, I'm using this because it does have an exact timestamp of the Jordan Peterson video. Welcome aboard the Ark. So there's a religious connotation there, but it has nothing to do with religion. But there's a quick clip from this, and you can hear Jordan Peterson explain himself. And it's all about a narrative. It's not about what they're actually going to do, if it's actually going to help people. It's a narrative. It's telling people what they want to hear, and then you have this evil adversary of the World Economic Forum, and you could be the good version of that. Well, I'm sorry, I don't believe you.
Come to be. Yes, this is an edited video. The actual video is an hour and 10 minutes long of Peterson famous word salad, so I couldn't play the whole thing. I've just taken a certain chunk of it. I promise you I didn't change the meaning of it. So listen to this 4 minutes and I'll be back with you after.
On January 27th, I announced on Joe Rogan's show that I had been working with a group of people in the UK and Europe and Australia and New Zealand and Canada.
Well, we know it's the UK because I actually had to find I had to find a register of this company to find and backtrack to when they changed the name, how it was created. That's not in this video that she put up. I had to go dig and find that today.
And the US to organize.
But I'm not dissing this specific video of hers. I just want you guys to know. I'm just not one that consumes her content, but She did a really good job of pointing out the connections, which is really easy. You look at the board of members; it's exactly what I would have done, so I have to give it credit. You look at the board of members, you look at where they're from, what their stances on things are, and you make up your mind. Is this really a group that's going against a World Economic Forum, or is it like in with the old, or out with the old, in with the new? Two heads of the same coin, but one claims to be good.
A series of questions about, well, about what? About how we might want to conduct ourselves and what we might want to happen individually and collectively as we move forward into the future. From the level of the individual all the way up to the level of the, say, the universal collective. What kind of planet do we want to inhabit? I'm going to tell you why that all came about. Now, you might say, if you're cynical, well, you only met conservative people and they were just echoing back to you what you wanted to hear. And that's actually not true, because lots of the people I met were disenchanted liberals or leftists who were not left enough to be enamored of the communist regimes, let me say, or who had also been canceled and mobbed by the new woke tyrants. And the other thing people told us, Tammy and I,
And you just get sick of hearing about blaming everything on wokeness, everything on the left. It's all the left-right paradigm. And of course you're pandering to the right wing with this group. Jordan Peterson's been pandering to the right wing forever. On stage, he wouldn't even accept the JQ. He wouldn't even talk about it. He literally shut down and shut up on stage when asked about it. He's been pandering to the conservatives because that's what get him views. He works for fucking Ben Shapiro. How much more quote-unquote Jewish conservative do you need to get? And it just comes about after the last 4 months he's been meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, working for the Daily Wire, dinners with Netanyahu, plan initiatives being told to him, letting Benjamin Netanyahu come on his podcast and explain why Palestinians have no right to the land of Israel and all this stuff. It's just a coincidence that he's coming out with this organization right now. And it's not some small rinky-dink operation. This is full of billionaires and very powerful people.
Continually was that they felt like voices crying in the wilderness. But after we'd been in about 6 countries, we thought, well, every place we go, people say the same thing. They're appalled by what's happening on the culture war front, especially with regard to the radical left. They can't believe these ideas are making the incursions that they're making. And they feel absolutely isolated in their attempts to do anything about it. But, when you go to 8 countries and 30 people in each country tell you that, you think, well, why aren't people coming together, let's say, those who occupy the moderate center, whether they happen to be conservative or classically liberal, why aren't they coming together in some international manner to discuss exactly this problem? Is there no overarching structure of communication that would make that possible? So then I started thinking about, well, maybe we should organize such a thing and bring people together for a conference somewhere in Europe, maybe in North America. Bring people who are centrally inclined, and that would be the vast majority of people, together so that they could share best policies and share their ideas about what they've done in their own country that might be extremely useful if other countries duplicated it, and to develop a vision that would be an alternative to the globalist, woke, utopian nightmare that threatens to engulf us all. And so...
And he's talking about the World Economic Forum. Give me 1 second. I just want to reopen the chat here. I don't know, my chat turned off for a second. Stream's going good, no problems. Okay. Oh no, I didn't mean like sorry for doing work. I'm just saying like I haven't seen anybody but this one channel kind of cover it. It's just like a quick 20-minute video. And I felt like it was an important topic, but I feel like a lot of people weren't covering it because of the research. Like you have to dig a little bit into this, and there is a lot of people that just still won't say anything bad about Jordan Peterson. Like even if they're out of the left-right paradigm, they still for some reason cling to this guy's fucking dick.
I started talking about that everywhere we went. Virtually every.
And when he says, oh, well, we go to countries and these people have these great ideas, and he pairs it up and he says to go against, you know, the woke, the technocrats, he's talking about the World Economic Forum, the tyrants. We know who he's talking about. It's glaringly obvious he's actually said and quoted this is like the anti-WEF. He said that on Joe Rogan. So we know what he's getting at, but when he talks about these people in high levels in these people are corrupted just the same as the people in the World Economic Forum and believe in the same policies that the World Economic Forum does. Number one is man-made climate change, getting it to a net zero, eating less meat, driving less. You know, all of these things that they push are things that people on his board pushed. I showed you Dan Crenshaw. We know his history. We'll get into that Baroness that's part of the Lords. I mean, she does a real number.
Everyone, virtually without exception, from across the political spectrum said, we really need something like that. We'd be happy to help. What could we do to help? And we'll drop everything to make this a priority. And I was getting serious offers of exactly that help right away. And then I went to the UK and discussed it with my connection network there, which is actually quite extensive, and exactly the same thing happened. And then I went to Washington and I spoke not least to the Republican Study Committee, which is the federal committee that is responsible for the formulation of Republican policy. It has been for decades. And people were very enthusiastic there too. And then I went to Australia and New Zealand and exactly the same thing happened. And so that was pretty interesting. And so I started to formalize this with some of the people that I knew in the UK. And I had been working with people on the free speech front in the UK, so that seemed promising. And
they don't have free speech in the UK, so that won't be promising.
I sat together with a number of
we don't even have it here.
People, all of whom are going to announce their participation in this project very soon, on their own time and in their own voice. And we started to talk. We met 3 different times in person, between 5 and 20 people. And, well, what did we think about? Well, we thought about what we would like to have happen on the international front if we could have what would be best. And not what we think is best, but what would be best, even how to construe what would be best.
So I will let, since she put this video together, and even though I did the research as well on the things, I will give credit. Amazing Polly put that clip together, and she did put some pieces together on the board of members that I can also show you as well. So I'm going to pull this over right now. Just give me 2 seconds here. Now, there's many people involved in this. There's a man named Michael Farmer. Let me get back on camera. Okay, there's a guy named Michael Farmer. Now, he's a businessman out of the UK. His son is George Farmer. He is the CEO of Parler. He is also married to Candace Owens. There's Bjorn Lomborg, who's That's fucking hilarious. I was making a joke, but I like that. That's fun. That's great, man. Shout out to Malinformed Boomer, who I haven't seen you in a while, so I hope you're doing well out there in the world. Hope work is going well for you. He said, a $40 donation, by the way. Thank you very much for the 2-hour stream, LOL. Thank you. I was making a joke in the chat because I think someone said a psychologist, $100 an hour, imagine. I go, Man, just for hours of research and like 2 hours of stream, if I could make like $40, I'd probably be happy. You know what I mean? And then he sent that, so that's very funny and very appreciated. You know that. Thank you very much. Um, but yeah, Bjorn Longberg is one of these heavy proponents of man-made climate change, and I'm gonna play through a little bit of her video because she just, the way I can show it to you here and go through this board, she screenshotted every single person's face and literally just put it in a big square so you can see everybody at once. Um, so it's much more easier to look at.
I don't know about you, but what I got out of that was that it was organic. Peterson just talked to all these people as he was on tour for his, his promotional tour, and they all were saying the same thing. And then he just came up with this idea. Why don't we all get together? And then boom, 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 everyone jumped on board. Really.
And this is why I showed you in the beginning that this organization was around since 2017, and it wasn't Jordan Peterson's idea. Uh, but they like him as a face of it and someone that can talk to a very broad audience. It's a very big YouTube audience. It's a live audience, can get on Joe Rogan, things like this. And he has not shied away from working for government programs or receiving federal grants before. We know he worked on the UN Council alongside John Podesta at the time in 2012. So he's not against, working for government programs.
Really fast, and he has a lot of connections in the UK. He doesn't say who those are, though, does he? I have my doubts about whether Peterson really came up with this way.
Oh, I absolutely do not believe he came up with this in any way, shape, or form. I think he was approached by very high level people. Like I said, it's a billionaires club. We'll go through the list of people. I won't bore you for like an hour of it, but it's a billionaires club. Instead, excluding like Dan Crenshaw and a couple of those, you have ex-Australian prime ministers, you have high-level businessmen from around the world. I mean, it's a who's who of people, and not good people.
And I'm going to share with you what he didn't. I'm going to share with you who I think his connections were that actually put this thing together in the first place, okay? So let's go. The first thing I did was looked at the ARC's new website, and here's their...
All right, so you can get a really good look at all the people here. So we have people from Net Zero Australia. There's a company called Legatum, and that's when we'll get into the person that's connected with the House of Lords, and I think she's a main piece of this that got into Peterson's head. And the people that back her at the House of Lords are very powerful people. Like Dan Crenshaw is just someone Jordan Peterson just threw on there. He's not an influence of anybody. This guy Paul Marshall is very influential for some reason. His son's on the board. His son's the lead singer of Mumford and Sons. That's just a very odd one. Bjorn Lomborg, who I talked about, man-made global warming.
Their organizing committee. Sorry it's so messy. I wanted to jam them all on one page. Now, there are a lot of questionable characters on here. They're not so much questionable characters. They're just people who I think prove the point that this is meet the new boss, same as the old boss. There's Bjorn Lomborg, as I predicted, and he still believes in man-made climate change and thinks we need to do something about it. It's just slightly different from the way it's being sold to us now. Here's a guy from Net Zero Australia. Net Zero is the whole climate change sustainable development agenda.
Now, I believe before I watched this video and I went through who was on the board, I go, okay, who do we have here? We have someone from Net Zero Australia, so of course I'm going to go through Net Zero and just go through it. Just, you know, we'll go through Bjorn Lomborg, his man-made climate change. And this is to get down to zero emissions. Again, this is the same idea the World Economic Forum has given you. I've shown you these screenshots where they say, by 2030, we only want you eating this much amount of meat. We only want you driving this much amount. And then they push it out to 2050 where it's like, you know, basically you're eating no meat and you can drive a certain amount of miles a year. It's like basically no driving. By then, they want electric cars to take over everything. You won't be driving at all. A mission impossible net zero carbon reduction goal is a quest for space cadets. And all this stuff we live by lying now. We tell ourselves lies. We know we are lying to ourselves. We instead continue to participate in the fantasy of net zero. These are all quotes from people in the climate debate. I am scared almost more by the consequences of net zero than those of climate warming. Complete decarbonization of the global economy by 2050 is conceivable only at the cost of the unthinkable economic retreat as a result of extraordinarily rapid transformations relying on near miraculous technical advances. So this is the type of people he has on the board. The head, like literally the head of Net Zero Australia is on his board. Bjorn Lomborg starts with the premise global warming is real and man-made. It will have a serious impact on humans and the environment toward the end of the century. So he's another one that wants to do drastic changes. These are one of the people that think dimming the sun is a great idea. The spraying of aerosols in front of the sun to dim it, which will lower, you know, the climate by 0.01%, and it'll give a cooling effect that'll counteract the warming effect. Even though if people that are here lived in the 70s, they used to call it global cooling, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole.
And this was my argument in my first video, that it's all going to be the same stuff. Great Reset, Fourth Industrial Revolution, just with a different story. If you recall, that was Peterson's whole thing. We need a different story, a great narrative to pull this thing together. All right, and there's someone here building a digital city with crypto, but it's a real city.
Yeah, so this is a woman named Riva, and her idea is these, you know, this is all the green dreams. No kids, no cars, no meat, no flying. Sorry, I forgot to mention the no flying, except for them and their private jet. That's amazing. But she is behind the city building startup. It's a crypto city, guys. It's a smart city. So they have a smart city crypto VC person. Crypto powered utopia is what they call it. And she already got 15 million in a series of funding to build this city. And it's a Peter Thiel backed city building startup called Praxis. Just the person I showed you at the top right. You can see Praxis Digital City. A funding from a variety of crypto ventures led by Paradigm Capital. You know, Sam Bankman-Fried's Alameda Research. Sam Bankman-Fried, that, you know, the guy that scammed all the people. So he's involved in the funding round of this. Praxis wants to pivot away from artificially scarce metaverses to build a city-state. Well, we only have one of those. That's called Washington, D.C. The Vatican and the banking in the UK, it's called the Three-City Empire. Praxis wants to pivot away from the artificially scarce metaverse and build a city-state that is organized around shared values rather than labor market principles of the industrial age. So you're basically merging smart city bullshit crypto and 15-minute cities all into one. But this is a good idea, guys, because Jordan Peterson's behind it.
City. So doesn't that sound like smart cities to you? Here's a guy from Robo Global. You can imagine what that is. There's Dan Crenshaw.
Robo Global is just a robotics company, swarm bots. They work with Boston Dynamics. You know, you guys know what those people are all about. It's just building AI and robotics to take away jobs from people. Automation is the new thing for these people. Again, things that Jordan Peterson would lead you to believe they're going against because those guys are tyrants, but his board is full of people that are pushing these things, and it's their lifelong goal to push these things. So nothing is as what it seems when he's pushing the bullshit to you in his hour-long video, which is very hard to get through. I had to watch the whole thing today. It's, you know how he talks, it's very hard to get through. So I imagine a lot of people didn't do a video on this because it's hard to listen to an hour of Jordan Peterson,
Who was a World Economic Forum young global leader.
We know that for a fact, and we also know he was on the board. He was literally one of the 3 congressmen that signed the TAPS Act. That's the Threat Assessment Protections Act. That's a pre-crime bill. He was also the #1 proponent of red flag laws and actually talked down to you. Remember that very condescending video he made saying that you guys don't understand red flag laws. It's actually you guys that are kind of stupid and don't understand it. We're not trying to take your guns. We just want to red flag you in case if there's an issue with someone else with a gun. It's like, okay, dude. You're not smart enough to trick anybody. You're a fucking retard ex-vet that got shot. You weren't even a good soldier. That might came out a little disrespectful, but you guys know what I'm saying. I get carried away sometimes.
And there's tons more. There's 2 former prime ministers of Australia, Tony Abbott and John Howard, and a deputy PM from Australia. Lots of these people actually are from Australia. But what really caught my eye was the repetition of people from an organization called Legatum. Legatum, Legatum, Legatum. And at first I thought Paul Marshall was from Legatum because when you look up Legatum, his name comes up a lot.
He's actually not part of that organization, but he is loosely connected to them. Now, I want to get, this is someone from Legatum, and this is the person that has connections to the House of Lords. She's a baroness, and how Jordan Peterson said there'll be people coming out in the near future on their own platforms telling you what they're going to do. Well, this is her coming out on her platform telling you what she's going to do.
British accent. And she sits in the House of Lords. She's basically a high-class Beatrix Potter. You know, she's so trustable on the face of it. So listen to her 2-minute video, and then I'll come back.
There are going to be 4 major themes. The first is, what is the better story?
Right off the bat, telling stories, telling narratives, nothing of substance. Let's give the best story to the people.
We talk about declinism, we talk about permacrisis, we talk about the fact that we're all going to hell in a handcart. But what is a better story? What is the better story that we can tell that will?
So we know these problems are here. We know they're unavoidable in some aspects, but can we tell a better story? And can we put lipstick on this pig? And that's basically what she just said.
Will enable us to walk forward the way we need to walk forward as societies and nations. That is really going to be the big theme of the conference. Then we're going to talk about the social fabric. How do we rebuild our social fabric so that our societies are healthy and strong again, so that our identities are healthy and strong again?
I could start with one group that we could maybe get rid of that might help.
Then we're going to look at business and how business can be free to be entrepreneurial and to drive forward as the great engine of employment and opportunities that it should be. And then we're going to ask some questions about the energy and environment debate. We know we're going through this huge transition at the moment. We know there's some very real challenges to it in terms of commodities provision and in terms of timescale. And we also know we want to do this transition not on the backs of the poor and in a way in which emerging economies can come with us.
And this is the problem with the whole thing. To do the things that they're going to claim that they're going to be able to do, just like the World Economic Forum is claiming they're going to have to do. Now, the only thing the World Economic Forum doesn't try to come out and say is that we're this benevolent, good organization that, you know, we're not going to hurt any poor people and we're going to lift people up. They're like, you know, we need less people in this world for for us to thrive, and you guys don't need to get anything so we can have everything. You're just trying to put a nice spin on it, but you're selling us the same bullshit. And I don't like being sold bullshit, especially by fucking internet personalities like Jordan Peterson. Now, I'll just quickly go through a couple of ties of hers. Now, Bernice Stroud, who appears to be a driving force behind the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, is a member of the House of Lords in UK. In her first speech to that body, she went out of her way to name 2 members as her supporters, men who she had worked closely with for years. So this is who she thanks for getting her to this position. One is a guy named David Freud. He is the son of Walter Freud, great-grandson of Sigmund Freud. In 2006, he asked by Tony Blair to review the UK's welfare to work system, with Blair having been impressed by Freud's raising of finance for Disney or something. Freud had breached the code of conduct for peers in 2021, so corrupt. Fraud has acted alongside the Portland Trust, a non-profit London-based foundation, embezzled more money. His name was also brought up in the Madeleine McCann case because he was close with John Podesta at the time. Not saying that he has any role in it. I'm just saying his name was brought up several times around the Madeleine McCann disappearance. We also have a guy named Michael Farmer, who she thanks. Now, Michael Farmer is just a British businessman, been a businessman there for years, metal and commodities company. His son is George Farmer. What is he the CEO of? He's the CEO of Parler. Who's George Farmer married to? Candace Owens. Who's Candace Owens work for? The Daily Wire. Who's Jordan Peterson work for? The Daily Wire. So now you have that whole platform that's going to be pushing this shit. And you guys will just the more connections and more connections as I go through this, over the next couple weeks, as more information comes out, you guys will start to see just how wicked and how nasty and how disgusting things get. And they're all trying to package it to you in this nice little package, and we're all good people, and we just want to help the world, and we want to spring people out of poverty, and we're going to do it magically because we're responsible citizens, and you should trust us. We just need billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, but you can trust us with that money. You don't want to trust the World Economic Forum with it. How about I don't trust either of you with it? End of story. So that's just that's an initial review of Jordan Peterson's arc. Other than Amazing Polly, I have not seen anybody else touch this topic or do any research into the topic. I haven't seen any Twitter threads. I haven't seen anything. So, I don't know. it looks like I'm gonna have to do a lot of digging and do another maybe hour video on this with more connections, because I want to get into exactly who Paul Marshall is, and I want to show you guys a couple more people on this. And I think as these people start making statements over the next couple of weeks, you have to remember this was announced 5 days ago, so there's only so much information that's out there. As much digging as you can get, you eventually get stonewalled no matter what. So as they make comments, as they trip over themselves making comments, as we start making more connections of each individual on the board, I will put together another long form video explaining it. Now, sorry, that might not have been the most entertaining piece you've ever seen, but the information is very important, and if no one else is going to cover it, that's something I love doing. I love covering something that no one else is touching, no one else is covering. Shut up. I'm not a fan of Amazing Polly, but shout out to her for making that video. She did a very good job on it. And as I was doing my research, and then I looked at her video, we were kind of lining up on the same things. The only thing she did not get was that this organization's been around since 2017. And if she would have had that piece, she would have been able to say, well, I don't think Jordan Peterson started it. She would have known Jordan Peterson didn't start it. But I'm not going to blame her for that one little thing. I had to go through registries of companies and name changes in the UK for about 2 hours. So, I understand that she didn't find that one little piece. Other than that, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming out. I think we're right around the 2 hour mark, so I appreciate it. Thanks, Mail Informed Boomer, for the dono. If anybody else wants to support the show, it's just cash.app/$CrockoTruth. Shout out to anybody that's joined as a member on Odysee. If you're a patron of mine and you want to just change over to becoming a member on Odysee, I totally understand. That's totally cool. I don't have PayPal. I don't have Buy Me a Coffee. I'm banned from all of those for things that I've said. So these are the two sources. Patreon, Odysee, and Cash App are the only three ways people can really help out. And it's just totally appreciated, but it's not obligated in any way. I'll never have any paywalled content or anything like that. Everything's free. And I just enjoy the community. I enjoy putting on these shows for you. And I'm glad you guys are in an engaging chat. I'm not going to ramble too long. I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow in another stream because I'm off tomorrow. And as always, I will see you in the next one. And I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you again.